Hi, I thought we'd cover some of the wildlife, both plants and animals that are in Nova Scotia. I thought that might be kind of fun to have a look at. As you can see, there are a lot of deer in Nova Scotia. Now, it didn't seem to be quite as many this year as last year. In past years, I would see like deer every evening and every morning in the backyard at my parents' house. However, you could still see a lot of deer, and you have to watch out for deer while driving, especially at dusk, early morning and at dusk at night. Really got to watch out. Those deer will run out on you on the road. So we have a nice buck deer with its antlers, and this was behind a car mechanic garage. And then we have some other deer at various locations in Lunenburg and Blue Rocks, Nova Scotia. So there's a lot of them. There has been a downside to this, believe it or not. I love having deer around. The downside, there are ticks. So there are deer ticks, and they have become rampant. These ticks will you brush up against tall grass, the deer will do that, and the ticks will fasten on. They will fasten on to humans too. It is not a very nice experience. And in addition to this, deer ticks can carry Lyme disease. So it's a bit of a concern. If one were to get a tick on them, you simply go to the hospital or go to a place where you can get antibiotics. The sooner that happens, the better, and then you can have just a really quick 1 or 2 pills and you're good. But if you wait like a week or two, then the round of antibiotics is much longer to try to prevent or eliminate Lyme disease. So deer, loads of fun to have around, but there are some things created from it. This is my next door neighbor's house in Blue Rocks, Nova Scotia, the house I grew up in and such. And this was kind of fun. This was last year, 2023, that they had a bunch of porcupines, a little family that was living nearby. As you can see, they're quite active in the backyard and the front yard. This is in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. There's a lovely park there called Miller Point Peace Park. And this location has lady slippers for a good length of time. It's, I think, 6 or 8 weeks that the flowers are open like this. They have a symbiotic relationship with the fungus in the soil, and both need each other in order for this plant to exist like this. These plants take a really long time to reach maturity, and they're really delicate for transplanting. So it's really best to leave them alone and let them do their thing. And I will include a little video that has more details on lady slippers. Here's a picture plant that is in Blue Rocks, Nova Scotia. They are also at Polly Cove. You might notice that when you look at that video. And I will give you a video that has a lot more detail about the pitcher plant as well. They're pretty cool plants. Interesting, especially that they're carnivorous. Here are lupins. These are a huge favorite of mine because it just reminds me of where I grew up. I'm very nostalgic about lupins. However, I have a very mixed feeling about them now because they are not native. So they are pushing out the native plants in Nova Scotia, but they've been around for a really long time. So I'm very mixed on that. But I'll have another video that has more details on this plant. Here, this has been a program to try to help these really large birds called osprey. And ospreys are considered fish hawks. They have various different names. They're quite large birds, and they love to make nests high up. So you can see that there's a nest on top of this telephone pole. They have put up poles with special tops on them to help these birds have nests in various locations. I'm not seeing that as much now, but a few years ago, there were a lot of poles put up with really large circular spots so that osprey nests could get developed and get going. So on the left-hand picture, you can see that this shrub is absolutely full of moss and lichen. This is very common on plants in Nova Scotia because there's a lot of fog and moisture. So it's a reminder that it grows just about everywhere. This is a healthy shrub that has a lot of leaves on it, so not even just the dead trees, but on a lot of trees this is an occurrence. In the middle we have a plant that maybe you can picture, especially from these two flowers, what it might be. If you can picture those in a bluish color, what might they look like? Well, these are wild blueberries, and they grow all over the place. They are native to Nova Scotia, and they'll grow in all kinds of nooks and crannies. I remember picking these a lot as a kid. They are small. They're about the size of your pinky fingernail. So you have to collect a lot of them to make much of a meal out of it. But they are yummy. And then on the right-hand side, these are strawberry plants. I'm not seeing any strawberries tucked under there. Here are some of the spots where strawberries could be growing. Oh, I think there's one right here. But anyway, these wild strawberries, they're again very small, about the size of your pinky nail, but they're yummy. And those grow in Nova Scotia as well. So kind of neat, some of these things. What would be a video about Nova Scotia without mentioning the blue nose ship? So maybe you don't know much about the blue nose ship, but the original one, it was a schooner. It was a sailboat that would race against an American ship, and it did really well. I don't know a lot about the history more than that. I know that at one point the Blue Nose won. It sank, so we ended up with the Blue Nose 2 being built. And at some point, this was a few years ago, Blue Nose 2 was not doing very well, and we realized we had to do some repairs on it. So there was a lot of work done on whether there would be a Blue Nose 3 or just repairing the Blue Nose 2. And then we also have some coastline here, which is just a huge reminder to me of the lovely terrain that's in Nova Scotia. One of our last evenings spent in Nova Scotia this past year, we went out on a boat that was to go whale watching. Now, it was extremely foggy, which you can kind of tell by the pictures. The pictures, I think, show less fog than what we actually saw in real life. So what this whole area is called the Ovens. And the Ovens is a place where you can go into caves. And these openings, these sort of tunnels that you can see in the rock, are hollowed out by the ocean. And you can walk down these stairs and go down into the cave. You can see a person inside this one cave looking at the ocean and the cave itself. So it's kind of cool. There's about 3 caves, I believe, you get to go into and check out. And this area too, there was panning for gold on the beach. I'm not sure how much you're allowed to do them that way now, but it's kind of cool that you can check out this area. So we didn't see any whales during the whale watching trip. However, we did get to see a bunch of seals. So these seals were very active. I'll include a little video about how they were moving around on the rocks. It was kind of fun and cute to see them. So another native species in Nova Scotia. And I can't end this video without something kind of extra cute in addition to the seals. This is a cat that last year was super friendly when I was walking along the coastline on a road. And I found this one was like, it would kind of want to walk with you. And at some point you'd pet this cat for a little while. And then at some point it would cuff you. And I'm like, okay, I guess you're done being petted. But I also found this cat to be a really unique color. Now it was foggy that day, which means that probably the orange coloring in that fur really popped more than usual. It was just really kind of neat. So it was like the cat was trying to be a friend. So anyway, this is about it for our introduction to Nova Scotia. And then you will have some videos about different aspects in this province. See you soon.